It's the only form of, I can say, corruption. I knew then that they are not transparent about their own budget when they are discussing increasing their salaries or any other benefits. They do not want the public to know about that. But with time, of course, we had a bit of stories about exchanges in committees, but they were not as last year in May, Agora had a space about the budget after it had passed. And in that space, I told the story of what I had heard from the source, how President Museveni invited the budget committee to his to State House because they were refusing to pass the 37 billion shillings to give to Wagogo for whatever coffee value addition, or so they claim. And the president summoned them, and in that meeting said, please pass my budget, pass what I want. After all, I know that you guys are also corrupt. I know that you're getting money from agencies. And Museveni specifically said, isn't that right, kissing? So President Museveni already knew that Namju was involved in that. And the story then that I had was that the members of that committee meet the MDAs that are supposed to appear before them, and they say, we know you want this much, we will give you this much, but we will add you 5. Out of the 5 we are adding, 3 is ours. And that wasn't only Sister Namju eating that money. Sister Namju has become a sacrificial lamb. That was, it's a whole cartel. So some of the MDLs, they would trust them to give them that money after. Where there's an accounting officer they don't trust, they would say, we don't trust you, you have to look for that money and give it to us before we pass your budget. And I'm hearing this story and I'm asking, so where do they get the money? And I'm told, yeah, the accounting officer goes to loan sharks, these many people, and gets 3 billion and brings it, and that's when the budget they want is passed. So sometimes it would be that you want them to increase your budget, or sometimes it would be their initiative and they'd say, we'll give you 5 billion more than you asked for. And that's what creates the reallocations I have been talking about. So you find that the budget gets there and Parliament moves money, which is okay. Like, it's their mandate that let Parliament in its wisdom, according to the Constitution, let Parliament in its wisdom appropriate where it thinks the money is needed most. So the spirit that Parliament tampers with budget when it comes from finance is good. That if the budget comes and Parliament thinks it's not focusing on priorities, like the health sector, like the education sector, they are saying, let's move money from here to here. But that's not exactly what happens. Actually, money is moved from critical sectors and put in ways that you don't understand. And they would mention it in the most ambiguous ways. Of this money is moving to tourism, to promote tourism, like 4 billion. And in there, they are saying there's a documentary. And you wonder, that documentary of 4 billion? This money is for patriotic activities. They will send 9 billion. That's what happened, I think, last year to the office of the president for ceremonies and patriotic activities. They'll get money and say we are sending it to FIA to sensitize people about financial crime. So all this money is money you can't go back and say, did it do what it was supposed to do? Like, accountability becomes difficult. So that big problem of the budget starts with that. Reallocations is where corruption and mismanagement happens. But also the other thing is that the members of this budget committee and the leadership of Parliament use those reallocations to send money to their districts. So you will find that in the last 3 years, there's one district that has appeared in all the reallocations. So you'll find that Shema district is actually where I come from. I'm glad it's the one I'm talking about. And it's true that it has money that goes to its health center 4 or health center 3 or a seed school. Mitoma, where the deputy speaker comes from, I think last year the reallocation was money for a seed school. This year is for a reconstruction or rehabilitation of something. When Mpuuga still up, Masaka got 8 billion for some rehabilitation, like things that you look at and say, but what exactly is this? And the same goes to Kedea, the same goes to Biende, where the speaker's heart comes from. The same goes to districts like Movende, where her friend, what's the name of this guy, Kabanda, who is also in the budget committee, comes from. The same goes to Barara City, like, so it's been a trend. But the third problem with reallocation is that they make sure that the institutions that are supposed to question them, to hold them accountable, are getting money in these reallocations. I can share with you these documents. The Auditor General has received reallocations of 10 billion and above for the last 3 years. The FIA, the same thing. You go to police, the same thing. You go to ISO, the same thing. You go. So, but still, it's a syndicate. The first syndicate that, yeah, they give us this extra money over and above what we asked for or what was allocated, and they take it back. So, that's what I have experienced. I am glad the president, I am sure he knew it before. I don't know what has made him start acting now. I am always suspicious of President Museveni. I think he only acts when it suits him. So I do not think it's necessary about the corruption in the budget process. But I am glad, whatever the intention is, I'm glad that they are waking up to that, and that conversation is starting now. Because before we were not having it. Because, in these stories, even for someone like myself who wants to show evidence, you cannot have proof that we can only use that sort of, you can only corroborate what you've been told with these documents from budget committees that show a trend that is very suspicious, because you will ask yourself, why is Shema the only one getting money for a school 3 years in a row? Why is Barra City the only one getting money for its bridge or its hospital? Why is Mitoma? So you make sense of what you've been told in that way, and that has been my experience following up that issue.
Many thanks, Agatha. Thank you for your submission. Yes, Joseph, are you now able to speak?
Yes, I am. I hope you're able to hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You have just listened from Agatha and Honorable Agority on the unfortunate happenings and the materialism in our parliament. Going back to history, are there any historical aspects of this nature of corruption that, in your experience, you think probably we need to learn about?
No, the absolute answer is no. Whatever has happened in this country for the last 39 years nearly is unprecedented. It has never happened, certainly not in the two Obote governments, and it could never happen, and there's no circumstance it would ever happen under any UPC administration, certainly one in which I'm associated, but hopefully those of my children and children's future. Because whatever is happening under NRA, we hope it does not happen under any other regime post Mr. Museveni. I was privileged just within the last 1 week when I was just crossed the border to a neighborhood, and I met a former flight captain of an Amin regime who has vowed never to return home, and for various reasons, certainly not because of, for various reasons, so he says. But I bumped into the guy, I must say. But the man left me thinking that even Idi Amin, who overthrew my government, even Idi Amin, who killed my whom I have such a strong anti-militarism perception, I sort of nearly gave Amin an extra point in terms of what this man was saying with his mini literacy. In fact, I came from this guy thinking and confirming sort of that Amin was a relative nationalist. I'm not sure I'm saying it. So no, the only major corruption and Obote, the one government, was ironically something that involved Idi Amin. It's a contradiction, isn't it? And that is the gold scandal in Congo. The gold scandal, of course, in a way, could also went on to lead to the overthrow of our government. But I hope that these corruption expositions help to not overthrow Mr. Museveni, but help to retire Mr. Museveni. Amin had been sent to Congo by President Obote at the time to support the Lumumba's forces after Patrice Lumumba had been killed by imperialist forces. Those are genuine imperialists, not the imperialists Museveni talks about. So, under cover of Idi Amin as deputy commander, Amin got involved in gold deals. But of course, as it happens in politics, the government's opponents, including actually these foreign powers, used the position to say Obote and Amin were involved in this corruption. Post-Parliament investigated this and obviously found Obote neat, found Amin involved, and actually the outcome was nearly, as I say, in a very decisive way. Amin was supposed to be going into prison. What it took government, I know not, and not certainly in the scale. Now, the scale that we are talking about is, the two sisters were talking, and that's fantastic being here with you again. I mean, yes, Ali, you were not yet online. No, this is not about some institutional weaknesses. These are possibly not some of the things that we need to take children to Chankwas or to Nagongra Boys Primary School to escape UPE. No, this is an organized state operation. It's a state capture by NRA regime. A perfect, if you like, a perfect dictatorship by Mr. Museveni that has actually done it in such a fantastic way that has managed to link the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. And the poor victims, who are basically the media, have been checked in a very particular way. And actually, the fifth estate, as I call them, the citizens, are now the permanent and continuous victims of this. What my sister from NUP was talking about, yes, is that we will have weaknesses. But quite clearly, it's not about that. In any case, any budgets are, yes, political papers, political presentations. In fact, governing political parties do present national budgets. And national budgets generally should be in line with their political party manifestos that leading to the campaigns that we need to begin perhaps hopefully next year, going to the next elections. Political parties take positions like UPC says, yes, we shall wipe off corruption and we shall possibly hang, of course, no, not hang the corrupt and basically hang them in Luzira for ages. But we shall rebuild the rail networks that NRA killed. But part of the monies that we shall find for doing that, when you journalists ask us, will be efficiency savings of the 10 trillion shillings from corruption, as confirmed by my beautiful sister, Betty Kabir. So these positions about hospitals, positions about schools, in any case, it should not really be at the stage in which a member of parliament, goes to argue that you guys give us a bit of a cut, even if it was general, because it would actually be fair. If I'm a member of parliament for Tororo, Uganda Limited, and I basically want to sort out Bositema National Agricultural College back to a National Agricultural College, not an institution killed by Museveni. I can see, but you guys, why don't you consider this? But generally, the governing political organization, if in this case it's NRA, they'll say, no, we gave our priorities to sorting out the Kampala mess. Budgets things that they promised or they see or believe are right development models for these nation states. Normally then when they go to parliament, the scrutiny yes would be about priorities, but in many cases also scrutiny would be about spending, including about how shall we get this money here and there, as my sister says. But at the end of the day, the reason this is happening, And that's why I said at the beginning that this is institutionalized corruption within a captured state. The corruption, as we discussed, because the focus is about Parliament and the classic with Parliament and Ministry of Finance, is a criminal, atrocious, criminal, extraordinary thing I never knew I would ever hear or see and experience in my lifetime in my nation state. Shame on Mr. Museveni, who went to the bush boasting about this. No, the thing is this. Once political parties have been killed, and that's part of the other contradiction in this conversation, let's not forget. Yesterday, I think I had a conversation by my other good sister and a friend of mine, actually, Winnie Kiza, who sort of blamed this, on the return to pluralism, in fact, the challenge in Parliament. Something that I reject. I don't agree. No, the killing of political parties, which are basically organizations with values and systems, with aspirations consistent in their own ways. That push for certain development models where UPC will take a position different from NUP or NRA in this case, you run with it and give your programs on the basis of that is absolutely what it should be. So when you go to the National Assembly, you go to the National Assembly to compete on the basis of those values and aspirations. So the earlier Parliament, of the NRA, which I really don't call Parliament, by the way, I just don't believe they're really Parliament because a monolithic system, including one in which we provide the ban. I do not believe that Parliament is taking my position on that. Those days, NRA had noted killed the spirit of average Ugandans. So even some of the Ugandans who went blindly to join Mr. Museveni in the bush, many of them still remain Ugandan. What has happened in the last 40 years is kill political parties, kill competition of ideas, kill institutions, kill systems, create personal merit politics, create systems where the survival is about an individual and is for the fittest. Create a system in which, therefore, we now have people who go to the legislative assembly, and even within the last 1 week, I've had 2 people approach me, and one person telling me rather boasting of their plans seeking to go to Parliament. Why? Because it is no longer that assembly where we go to do what really should be. It is now politics under NRA, which is a better business, a far more paying business than enterprise, as it were, for the generous people. So people go, by and large, I'm not saying some of my colleagues have got many friends in Parliament, who are fantastic people. So generally, that is the nature of politics. What NRA has done with the banning political parties, creating a situation in which you and I know that we walk into the streets of Kampala, and it's very much about me, myself, and I. What is it that I can pick down Uganda House chambers? What is it that I can pick down Bombo Road for me, myself, and I? That is what has happened. So now, hit the legislators, many of whom, and in this particular assembly, I was one of those people who was quite optimistic a few years ago that this is a very young assembly, so very likely young and possibly relatively educated, now educated, quote, and so therefore they're going to be independent. But no, we did not realize that the depth of values is such